If you master selling, really master it, what's better in your life? Get to live in a better community. If you live in a better community, it means better schools for your kids. Better schools for your kids maybe means college. Now your kids can go to college. Make more money, maybe they can come out with less loans. Make a little bit more money, maybe they can come out debt-free. Because most salespeople, and these are not made-up numbers, over 90% have never read a book. Companies don't. I mean, salespeople don't buy books. And our books, the latest book that I came out, the sales book, it does very well in Korea, Japan, and Poland. Not in America. People don't buy books here. Companies buy the books to give to their salespeople. So we don't buy books. We go to a class maybe once every couple years, a seminar. We don't do audio books any longer. Maybe there's some, CDs, things like that. There's some streaming, some podcasts. But where is the training? So most people go, oh, hell, I'm self-taught. I don't know about you. I'm not going to a self-taught doctor. I'm not going to a self-taught dentist, an accountant, attorney. I want to be around a pro. So today, for most of you, whether you're 26 or 66, make this your journey. Become a professional. If you want to be great at anything, you have to practice it. So for many of you, this is going to be dramatic. And I will tell you this, and I'm not making this kind of stuff up. Every book that's ever been written on sales by a noted professional, we're all saying the exact same thing. I've read every sales book I can get my hands on. The first one was 1927, called Relationship Selling by Alexander Hamilton Institute. In fact, if you're in a bookstore and you see any of my books, any bookstores that are left, and you see this other guy's book, I'm going to tell you to buy this other guy's book. It's better and it's cheaper. It was written in 1936. It's the 15th most published book in the history of publishing. It's called How to Win Friends, Influence People by Dale Carnegie. And the whole book comes down to two single words: find want. Find out what people want. And the only way you find that out is by asking them. So I'm going to give you some things that chances are most of you are never going to do. But the ones that do what I'm talking about today, and I'm never going to say do it my way, I'm going to give you the science today. And if you do this, you will email me, you will text me, call, and say, hell, I can't believe this works. Of course it works. Number one, trying to get the appointment. Number two, asking lots of questions we're going to get deeper into coming up. Number three, asking for the business in a very simple way. But there's 4 reasons why salespeople fail. 4. There's only ever been 4. There will continue to be 4. This doesn't change. Number one, you got to love what you do. Got to love what you do. If you don't love what you're doing, go do something else. Because 2/3 of your waking moments is at work, which means you got a third left. Half that third that's left is thinking about work. Why don't you enjoy yourself? And I love salespeople. They come in, hi, how you doing? I'm Hal. I'm stiff. I'm uncomfortable. I got a board up my butt. This is how I act. And then with your best friends, how do you act with your best friends? Which phony person are you? I want you all to take a moment, think about your all-time favorite customer. I don't care what company, I don't care what industry. Just take a moment and think of your favorite customer you've ever had in your life. How do you act with them? Genuine, real, sincere. You don't filter yourself. You don't act stiff. Why don't you act that way with everyone? Someone's got to break the ice first. And it's not going to happen with the small talk. Now, I happen to, on the weekends, have a band, and I happen to be a drummer. And if I go into someone's office and there's a drum set in the corner, we're having small talk. Or if there's something that's of real personal interest, we're going to have small talk. And whatever that might be, maybe they're a boater, maybe they're a golfer, but a real golfer, not just, oh, you play golf. I want to have a conversation with someone that's genuine. And we don't do that too often. We go through the motions because you're thinking about yourself. You're not thinking about that customer. So number one, you got to love what you do. Number 2 reason salespeople fail, and again, if only 3% are over quota, that means 97% aren't kicking it. Number 2, talk too much. Talk too much. So I'm going to give you one of about 3 statistics today. I don't like giving a lot of statistics because numbers are boring. This is the first one, 70-30. If you're doing more than 30% of the talking, you are not selling, you're telling. And since we all have smartphones, just put your phone on the table and press record on the voice recorder. Or press video and keep it down, you'll hear the audio. And then you get in the car, press play. And look how much you're talking. It's amazing that salespeople talk way too much, and they think that's selling. Here's why: lack of training. So I had to go back in history because we have a little problem. Back in the 60s and the 70s through the early 80s, we had the greatest training companies the world ever saw. Xerox, IBM, Procter & Gamble, AT&T, 3M, NCR, More Business Forums, Disney, and they spent a tremendous amount on sales training. And guess what happened? IT came in, wiped all that money out. All that money had to be shifted. It's funny, if you said to someone 30 years ago, what do you do for a living? I'm an IT director. What's an it? Well, I'm a CTO. Is that a car? No, it's Chief Technology Officer. Things have changed. So where do you get sales training now? You're on your own. The next generation of leadership is on their own. Soft skills is going away. Most companies are really not training for management or customer service or negotiating. You have to find it yourselves. And it's going to be a challenge. And I think what's going to happen, things will start to come back unless technology really does something different. But we still need leadership training. We still need sales training. Salespeople will always be around. Always. In certain industries, some salespeople will go away. So part 2 of the 4 is you got to ask lots of questions, 70%. In fact, if you want to think of construction workers, and you're a construction worker, you got your tool belt. Well, in sales, you got a sales tool belt with only 2 tools. On this side is a big question mark for asking questions. This side is a big L, that's the L, for listening. Those are your 2 tools. Most salespeople do not listen well. You do not listen because we're thinking about what we want to say next. We think at about 500 words a minute, but we talk at about 225. So somebody's got to fill in that other 275 when the other person's talking because we're not listening. So we're thinking about what we want to say next. And I'm going to show you a little skill later that every professional except for salespeople use. And the day that you use this and do this, that's when you're going to email me and go, Hal, I can't believe what a game changer this was. And if you don't do it, you wasted 3 hours today. It's that powerful. And every book ever written on the subject will talk about it. So number 2 is asking questions. Number 3, you got to make more sales calls. I already talked about it. You got to make more calls. The more calls you make, whether it's existing customers or new business, the more business you're going to have. And the 4th reason salespeople fail is we're not seeing the right decision maker. I will never take a no from someone who can't say yes. I'll repeat that. I will never take a no from someone that can't say yes. Some words that my daughter calls magical words. Words that will change a sentence. Someone who is into words is Jerry Seinfeld. Really thinks about each word he's going to have in his routine. But the master of words, he had 14 HBO specials, and he literally worked on every single word, how powerful they would be to make the joke or the story better, was George Carlin. And as salespeople, we're not thinking of the magical words, the words that get people to open up to us. So here's a couple of them that if you start using them today, you're going to find people respond more to you. And here are 2 of the words. I really could use your help. I really could use your advice or opinion. We love to give our advice. We love to give our opinion. We don't ask. We're telling them what we want to do. When you have a sales call, when you pick up that phone, you've got between 7 and 30 seconds to convince someone. And it's not through an elevator speech. Whoever's training this elevator speech has no idea what they're talking about. Selling is asking. Marketing is telling. A sign is marketing. A business card is marketing. A banner on a website is marketing. A TV commercial, a print commercial, a radio commercial, that's marketing. The person that came up with the term elevator speech was a writer for the magazine Vanity Fair. And when it first came out, it was designed to be less than 15 seconds. Think about it. To go to the Empire State Building, 81 floors takes 47 seconds. And somehow this morphed into a 5-minute puke session where you verbally vomit on people all about yourself for 5 minutes. That's not an elevator speech. In fact, my next book that's coming out, I love the title. It's called Elevator Speeches Are Crap, Take the Escalator. So now we're going to spend about 5 or 6 minutes on the science of selling. First and foremost, there's only one number you should be looking at. If you all have a quota, and hopefully you do, a goal to obtain, don't look at a dollar amount. It's the wrong number to look at. Because the dollar amount is what gets you to 100% or 200%. Forget that. Think of prospects. And here's what I mean by prospects. And only insiders know this. This is rarely taught unless you're dealing with someone who's really spent time with sales management and strategy. You're only going to close between 50 and 70% of your legitimate prospects. Now, a prospect isn't what you think it is. It's what the customer thinks. What you think is not important. Does the customer think they're a prospect? Ask them. Are they either going to stay with their incumbent or are they going to move to a different company? That's their decision, not for you to make. It's for them to make. So are they truly a prospect is number one. Are you dealing with the right person, which is number two. So if you don't have those two things, we don't have a prospect. So those are the most important questions before we can move next. So you're going to close between 50 and 70% of your legitimate prospects. You with me? If you got 2 prospects, you're not going to get your 1 sale. It's probably not going to happen. And then you're going to be disappointed why you didn't make quota in a month, why you didn't make any money. You're going to be disappointed. If you have 3 solid prospects, you got a pretty good chance to get that 1. If you got 4, you're in every time. See, if you close more than 70% of your prospects, you're my new God. I'm not worthy. That's the range. So if you go through life always having a 4-to-1 ratio, you could always have a bad month. You can't have a bad quarter. It's impossible. The numbers are working for you. See, typically sales have what's called a peak and valley syndrome. They have a great month. What happens the next month? They hit the valley because they ate up their prospects. If you've got a 4-to-1 ratio, that's what happens. It always looks like this. So it's related to how hard you're working, and the prospects only come from 2 businesses, existing clients or a new business. Pick the bucket or buckets you want to work in. That's it. Those are your 2 buckets. And you have to do both equally as well. You got to take care of existing clients. Why would they ever want to leave you? They'll leave you for price because you've been taking advantage of them, or they found it cheaper somewhere else. Or they might find it cheaper, but they don't have the relationship with you. How good is your customer follow-up? How good are you at taking care of them? I want you to think of selling as running hurdles. This is the beginning of a race. You're running hurdles. It's the beginning of the race. That's the end of the race, right here. And there's 6 hurdles. And you can't win the race until you jump over all 6 hurdles. I call this Snow White and the 6 objections. I like to make something up. It makes no sense, but to me it's funny. 6 objections, no specific order to these objections. See, and if you've ever been trained on how to handle objections, probably you've been trained wrong. Like I've heard people go, "Oh, I learned the feel, found, felt method." What the hell is that? Well, understand how you feel. Many customers felt the same way. It's garbage. Anytime you hear an objection, you throw it back in question form. And here are your objections, and there's only 6 in the whole world of sales. Number 1, first objection, we've used you in the past. We hate you. Die. You ruined our lives. Number 2, I'm using another company. They're my cousin, my brother-in-law, my best friend, whatever. Number 3, you can't give me what I want. I want this price, and I want it in shag carpeting and lucite in between, whatever. You can't give them what they want. Number 4, it's not in the budget. It's too expensive. It's more than I want to spend. Number 5, I'm too busy, not now, call me after the first, now is not a good time, something to put you off. Number 6, I don't make the decisions, it's got to go to my CFO, my president, my astrologer, I don't care. So anytime you get an objection, anytime, just throw it back in question form. You got to be part talk show host, which I'm going to prove. Got to be part talk show host. Your job is to make the guests look good. Johnny Carson, Jimmy Fallon, even one of the best interviewers, and anyone that's in the interviewing business will all point to this guy and say he's the best. You might not like his sense of humor, but he's one of the best interviewers you'll ever hear is Howard Stern. He gets people to talk about things, and they want to talk about it. And if they're uncomfortable, he does back off. You got to be part talk show host. Number 2, you got to be part psychologist. You got to read the situation. You got an appointment for 3 months, and you fly to get there, and they go, their computer just crashed. You think they're in the mood to talk to you? You got to read the situation. Go, whoa, don't worry about my flight here. Don't worry about the expense of my loss of 2 days. Can we reschedule? Now, they know you're joking, you're part serious, but they're not going to listen to you. They're not going to be there with you. Look for a reason to make them feel guilty. Be a psychologist. Part 3 is a reporter. A reporter will never get in front of someone without the questions written out of the who, why, what, where, when, and how. Always. That is their job. Not today's reporters that, I'm talking about a true reporter that went to journalism school that learned how to do reporting. That is their job to get the complete. So to end, story. I want to talk about negotiating. There's no such thing as win-win. It's impossible for 2 teams playing to win. So you got to understand what negotiating is all about. Negotiating is a person at a table, whether it's a table of 2, or it's a table for Congress, or it's a table for an airline association, or a pilots union, whatever it might be, negotiating for themselves, their company, and their company's employees and their families. But it still comes down to 2 people. So when you're negotiating, you can't win. So when I wrote this book, I interviewed 9 of the greatest negotiators in the world. And one of them happened to be, in my opinion, just my opinion, was Tiger Woods' agent, Mark Steinberg. Because he was the first person that broke the $100 million mark for Nike. And now his team, LeBron James' team, follows Mark Steinberg's book. Everybody goes back to, they call him Steiny. Steiny's book, his play. And here's what I learned from Mark. He goes, Hal, put everything on the table. Excuse me? Put everything out there, except a timeline. Why? Because they can use that against you. But if you got to go back and negotiate with people over and over, why not be honest? Why not have trust immediately? Put everything out there. If they do the same, then you can talk as 2 people. And forget those words win-win. It's compromise. You take something away, I have to take something away. We both walk away with less than we expected. But what's that middle ground that we can both be comfortable with? And when one party walks away from the table and they didn't accomplish anything, that's someone who doesn't understand how to negotiate. Because if there's trust there, why are we walking away? Let's talk it through. Let's have a respectful conversation. So negotiating is the same rules as selling. Listen, ask lots of questions, take your emotion out of it, focus on that person, find out what they want, what their needs are, and above all, silence.